Iran-backed Hezbollah has released a list of 14 of its members killed in Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon's capital Beirut on Friday. This list includes top commander of the group, Ibrahim Aqil. Multiple missiles slammed into a building in the Daya district, triggering an explosion that tore into the lower levels as Aqil met other commanders inside. Now, it wasn't immediately clear if Aqil was killed in the strike. However, in a statement issued later, Hezbollah confirmed Aqil's death, calling him one of its top leaders. Aqil had been a member of Hezbollah since the 1980s. He was a part of the Iran-backed group's highest military body, the Jihad Council, and also headed the elite Radwan unit. He was wanted by the United States for involvement in the 1983 bombing of the country's embassy in Beirut. This is the second time in less than 2 months that Israel has targeted a leading Hezbollah commander. Before this, in July, Fuad Shukr was killed in an Israeli strike. Along with Aqil, Hezbollah said its central training unit head Ahmad Wahabi has also been killed in the Israeli strikes. He was previously a top commander of the elite force and was also involved in fighting for the Assad regime in Syria. Meanwhile, Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati said that the attack proved again that Israel does not value any human, legal or moral considerations. On the other hand, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel's goals were clear and its actions spoke for itself. Also, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant highlighted the sequence of actions in the new phase of war on the border, saying that it will continue until their goal is achieved, which is the safe return of the residents to the north of their homes. Meanwhile, in his first comments on the situation, US President Joe Biden said he was working on allowing people to return to their homes in the Israeli-Lebanon border.
We're continuing to try to do what we tried from the beginning to make sure that both the people in northern Israel as well as southern Lebanon are able to go back to their homes and go back safely. And the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, our whole team is working in the intelligence community, try to get that done. We're going to keep at it till we get it done, but we've got a way to go.
And White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said he was not aware of Israel giving the United States any prior notice about the Beirut strike.
We'll let the IDF speak to their operations. I am certainly not aware of any pre-notification of those strikes. And that, of course, as you know, is not atypical.
The escalation came as Israel awaited the revenge promised by Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah for this week's mass bombing attack on pagers and walkie-talkies belonging to the group's members. While most of the rockets launched from Lebanon were intercepted by Israeli defenses, at least one rocket made it through the Iron Dome and was seen twisted up after it landed and exploded on a road on Friday, hours after Aqil's killing in the airstrike. For more on this, we are now being joined by Fuad Azadi from Tehran, an associate professor, University of Tehran, as well as a columnist and political commentator. Thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One. Of course, as you know, the security situation, it has been particularly charged in the past week with the pager blasts first, then the walkie-talkie explosions. Now we are seeing these strikes in Beirut. That being said, what's your assessment of the security landscape and how things will pan out in West Asia?
You know, I think we are nearing a major war. The Israeli regime has been engaging in a genocide in Gaza and other places in Palestine for the last 11 months. And they are opening a new war front, trying to get Lebanon to respond so they can widen the war. They want to see a war between Iran and the United States. So Mr. Netanyahu, to save his seat as the prime minister, is willing to set ablaze the whole region, creating major wars in this part of the world, so he can continue to be prime minister. One reason they are attacking civilians in Lebanon is to divert attention from the genocide that they're engaging in Gaza. And this is not an Iranian professor telling you this. If you listen to UN High Commissioner on Human Rights yesterday at the UN Security Council, this is exactly what he said. The Israelis are engaging in mass terrorism, targeting civilians. You know, in Lebanon, doctors and nurses and security guards and many different people use pagers. And these pagers were sold on open markets. So targeting civilians in this manner is something new, has never been done in human history. And Israelis are engaging in activities that shows the nature of their regime.
Sir, let's also talk about the Hezbollah commanders who've come under attack. In July, it was Fuad Shukra. We've also heard about Ibrahim Aqil now. How do you think, what sort of a psychological impact do you think this will have on Hezbollah?
You know, Hezbollah is a resistance group, and the reason they use the word resistance is because these people are resilient. They have been resisting Israeli occupation. They kicked out Israelis about 20 years ago from southern Lebanon. Israelis continue to occupy a portion of Lebanon as we speak, and they are resisting the colonial project that the United States has been trying to implement in this part of the world. And they have many commanders, and in fact, what Netanyahu is doing in order to save his seat, he is, in the long run, going to cause Israel to go out of existence. You know, the Jews that were invited to go to Israel were promised free land, free money, free jobs, security, and by continuing this war, by refusing to have a ceasefire, in the long run, Netanyahu is damaging Israel's economy, is damaging Israel's reputation, and is going to, this type of activities is going to result in the end of Israel, which is good news, because in this part of the world, you cannot live with a genocidal regime in the neighborhood. So in the long run, the resistance is going to be victorious.
Professor, that being said, of course, when the pager blasts happened, the walkie-talkie explosions happened, we heard Hezbollah vowing that it will give Israel its fair punishment. That being said, do you see strong retaliation coming in the days ahead?
You know, one thing Hezbollah and Iran and other people who are opposing genocide are careful is that they need to respond in a manner that is not beneficial for Netanyahu and the Israeli regime. So if they want to expand the war, if they want to bring in other countries into this conflict, then the response should be in a manner that that objective is not satisfied. So the adults are the resistance in this part of the world, and the genocidal regime are acting in manners that in the long run, in fact, is detrimental to the future of the regime. That said, I think the response that Iran and Hezbollah and other members of the resistance will be surprising to the Israelis. It will come in the manner that they decide, in the timing that they decide. And I think at the end of the day, the resistance, you know, you look at the history of the last 40 years, the resistance is becoming stronger and the genocidal regime is becoming weaker.
Well, Professor Izadi, thank you so much for joining us on WION World as One with your insights on this.
Thank you.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.